So we have gone over how to solve one-step inequalities, how to solve multi-step inequalities, how to solve inequalities with variables on both sides, how to solve word problem inequalities, and how to graph inequalities. So now we're going to put all that together. We're going to go through our study guide so that way we can take our test and do well on it. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you all so that we may continue. All right, here we go. This study guide, make sure you submit it along with your work for it. If you do the scratch work on paper, make sure you attach those pictures as well. And if you need help, let me know. So I'm going to do the evens, everything for the most part on the right side. And I'll touch on some of the odd problems in case they look a bit confusing. So let's start. Number 2 says, well, first our directions say to solve each inequality and to show all steps. That's an important part. Show all steps. I can't give you partial credit on things if I don't see all of your steps. All right. So let's begin. To solve this inequality, I have this 2/3 t is less than negative 48. So to solve this one, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So times 3/2 times 3/2. This 2/3 times 3/2 goes to 1. And then what I have is this t left over here is less than, is less than the negative 48 times 3/2. That's going to be a negative 48 times 3/2. You can type that into your calculator. And what you get is it's going to be a negative number because you have a negative times a positive. So you're going to have this negative 72. All right, negative 72. And then in this question, it says it says the graph of our solution would be what? Would it be an open circle or a closed circle? Here you can circle it. I don't have a line underneath this. This isn't a less than or equal to. This is just less than. So it's going to be an open circle. That's a terrible circle. It's going to be an open circle. Oh goodness, that's also bad. Open circle. And then is it going to be shaded to the right or shaded to the left? This one is choosing numbers that are less than negative 72. If we were to draw this out, we would get, well, let's just go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and draw it out. You got that here. Then we have negative 72 here, negative 71 here, and negative 73 here. So if we were to draw this out, we said it'd be an open circle because it's not equal to. And then all of our solutions for t to be less than negative 72, all of our solutions are going to be this way to the left. So our arrow is going to go, or the area of the graph that would be shaded would be to the left. Let's look at number 4. Number 4 is the same thing. We're going to solve this one. So my first step here is going to be to move this 8 over. And you know what? Instead of, I usually like to move my variable over to my left side of the equation, but I'm not going to do it this time because in case you see one like that where it makes more sense to do it, I want you to know how to do it. So we'll just keep it like this. And then I have this 18 plus a negative 8. That's going to give me a negative, not a negative, just a regular 10 is greater than or equal to negative 2x. And here I'm going to go ahead and divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. And since I have divided by a negative, this sign, this greater than or equal to sign, is going to flip. And now I have this 10 divided by a -2, and that's going to be a -5 is less than or equal to my x. And remember, it flips when we multiply or divide by a negative. We have divided by a negative. I'm going to leave this graph for you all to graph. I'm sure you can do that. Let's look at number 6. Number 6, in this one, we have to do some distribution. I'm going to first distribute this 6 to this 4, and then to this 6. And this sign here, that's going to stick with that negative. That's going to go with that number. It's going to stick with that 6. And I'm not going to work this whole thing out. I'm just going to get you all started in case you might be stuck. This would be the part where you get stuck on. Excuse me. So now I have this -3. And I'm just going to bring down everything else. This -6 times a 4x is going to give me a -24x. Then I have this -6 times a +6, that's going to be a -36. So I have -3 minus 24x minus 36 is greater than -111. You know what, just for GP, I'll keep on going. One of the things that you also need to be sure to do is that now that we have distributed, we're going to combine our like terms. We have a constant term here that's -3 and a constant term here that's -36. Now, when we combine those, what we get is this -39 minus 24x is less than -111. And I might as well just work out the rest of the problem. Since we've got this far, it's going to be a +39, a +39 on both sides. And I get this left as a -24. X is greater than, and this -111 is -111, -111, minus or plus a negative, or plus 39, I should say, not -39, plus 39 is going to give me -150. And now I'm going to solve like normal, divide by a negative, divide by -24 on both sides, divide by -24 on both sides. And I'm actually just going to go this way, so I don't have much space at the bottom. And I have x. Let's keep it lowercase. And since I've divided by a negative, the sign flips. That sign flips, and so instead of it being greater than is now less than, and it divided by -150 divided by -24, it's going to be a 6.25. And in this case, I do recommend keeping your answers as decimals, because it's a lot easier to show where 6.25 is as a decimal and to count up 1 and down 1 for both of those. All right, so this is what we're going to get. We have flipped it, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I'm not going to graph that. That's going to be for you all. I think you guys got it. Let's look at number 8. It says our directions are to solve the following problems, choosing the correct graph to answer the problem. So we're going to solve the problem first, and then we're going to look at the graphs and figure out which one is correct. So let's look at number 8. Number 8 looks a little tricky at first, but it really is just a lot of combining our like terms. We got this 13, this -8, and this 6 all on the same side. So we're just going to combine those. Just add them all together. 13 plus a -8. Well, 13 plus a -8 plus a 6. 6 and -8 leaves me with -2. And then -2 and a 13. It's just going to be a 11 plus 2v. And if you need to plug that into your Desmos, because a lot of those numbers are kind of funky to handle at the same time, go right ahead. That's perfectly okay. So I have 11 plus 2v, and I'm just going to bring down everything else. I don't have to combine any like terms on the other side. But now I have this v on this side. I want to bring this v over. So I'm going to add v to both sides. Plus v. Oh, goodness. plus v plus v. That goes to 0. 11 plus 2v, and then I'm going to add v to this side as well. And so what I get is going to be this 11 plus 3v. 2v plus v is 3, is less than negative 7. Now I'm going to proceed like I normally would and subtract this 11 from both sides. Minus 11 on both sides. That goes to 0. And I have 3v is less than, and then negative 11 plus a negative 7, going to give me a negative 18. And 3v divided by 3 is going to give me v. V is going to be less than 18 divided by 3 is going to be a negative 6. All right, I didn't write those steps out because I was running out of space, but you go ahead and make sure you write those steps out. So now that we see that our solution is going to be v less than negative 6, we can look at our answer choices, all right? We see it's less than, so everything is going to be open. Each of our answer choices, A, B, C, and D, are all open. That's great. Then we have v less than negative 6. So anything we substitute in for v needs to be less than negative 6. So let's look at where each one starts. A starts at negative 1 or negative 2.5, negative 1.5, or negative 0.5. B starts at negative 6, so that's a good one. But are our solutions going in the right direction? I know, let's go back to that one in a minute. C also doesn't start at the right one. So B and D are the ones that we have that seem to be working. A and C are just out of the equation. So let's look at B and D. B starts at negative 6, and are our solutions going to the left? Is negative 5 less than negative 6? No. So negative 3 less than negative 6. None of these things are less than negative 6, so we can discount B. And so what our final answer is going to be, it's going to be this C, or it's going to be D. D is our final answer. I'm going to skip these. I think you guys got these down. You just got to read them and use your justification. If you're struggling with these, let me know, but I think you all can handle them. So let's move on to 12. The directions for this says to write an inequality for the given graphs. All right, so let's start. First off, I like to start with my sign. Is this going to be open or closed? This is going to be open because it's not filled in. So this is going to be a greater than or less than. And it's starting at negative 4. So something negative 4. Negative 4. Now, our answer choices, is our shaded area, are these answers bigger than negative 4 or less than negative 4? So we have negative 4, then we have negative 2, we have 0, then we have 2, 4, 6, 8. All of those answer choices, all of those solutions, all of those are larger, are greater than negative 4. So the rest of our answer is going to be Q, K, Q, doesn't really matter, whatever you choose, N, P, L, doesn't really matter. It's going to be greater than negative 4. That's how we're going to do this one. We look at whether it's open or closed. I like to figure that out, where it's starting, whether it's open or closed. It's starting at negative 4. I got that here. It's open. And then all of our answer choices are greater than negative 4. All right, let's look at number 14. Our directions say to solve showing all work. So let's see. My first step, I have x over negative 3 plus 5 is less than 4. So my first step, anytime I have these with these fractions in it, I'm always going to undo my addition or subtraction first, and then I'm going to undo my multiplication or division. So first, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, minus 5 from both sides, and I'm left with x over negative 3. 5 minus 5 is going to be 0. So this is going to be x over negative 3 is less than, and then 4 minus 5 is going to give me a negative 1. a -1. Don't forget to include that negative when you write that one, because that will throw you all off. So now I'm going to multiply both sides by -3. By -3, that goes to 1. And what I'm left with is going to be this x. And since I've multiplied by a negative number, and actually I forgot to write it over here, it's supposed to be a -3. Since I've multiplied by a negative number, my sign is going to flip. And so I have x is greater than -3, -3. X is greater than -3, because -3 times -1 should be +3. -3 times -1. So x is greater than 3. And I was saying, which of the following would be solutions for the inequality? So we solved our inequality, and now we just got to kind of plug in and see if the statement is true. So let's look at that. X is greater than -3. Let's plug in that first answer choice. What is that first answer choice? A says -5. Is -5 greater than -3? No, that is not a true statement at all. Let me go ahead and put a line through that one. That is not correct. Now let's look at B. B says 0. Is 0 greater than -3? Nah, 0 is not greater than -3. Is 5, C, is 5 greater than -3? 5 is greater than -3, so that one works. Is 10 greater than -3? Yep, 10 works. Now here's a slightly, maybe a tricky one, maybe not. Is 3 greater than -3? Is it greater than -3? Is 3 to the right of 3 on that number line? This one may seem like it's a bit tricky, but is it just that? Is it greater than negative, or is it greater than 3? It is not greater than 3. So that one is incorrect. 3 is equal to 3, not greater than 3. In order for this statement to be true, it has to be completely true. If this said greater than or equal to, that will work, but it doesn't. All right, so just make sure the statement is true, absolutely true, completely true. But when you answer one like this, let's look at 16. 16 says, a high school drama club is performing a musical to benefit a local charity. Tickets are $5 each. They also receive donations of $565. They also received donations of $565. They want to raise at least $1,500. Write an inequality to solve and find out how many tickets the school needs to sell. How many tickets the school needs to sell. So let's look at number 16. So they want to, our goal is to figure out how many tickets they need to sell to raise at least $1,500. At least $1,500. Now I don't have my kind of cheat sheet with the words and things. I don't have that above this one because this isn't a set of notes. This is a study guide. So let's think about what it means to have at least. To have a minimum, a very minimum of something. If you went to buy a store, and you went to a store and you went to buy something, and you knew that what you wanted to buy was going to be at least $10, you would bring $10, but you'd also probably bring more than $10, right? So if this is going to be, if they want to raise at least $1,500, they want to have $1,500, right? But they also want to have possibly more than $1,500, a greater value than $1,500. They want $15, so that's good, but they also want more than $1,500. So that's going to be a greater than or equal to sign, all right? And so now it's saying they received $565 in donations. They just got it. They just chunked it. Somebody just threw it to them, gave it to them. So that's going to be $565. And then they're selling these tickets for $5 each. And we want to figure out how many tickets do they need to sell? How many tickets do they need to sell? That's the other piece to this equation. Solve and find how many tickets the school needs to sell. So now that we have this set up, we've got this 565 because that's what someone donated. That's just kind of a chunk there. We've got this 5 because they're selling tickets for $5 each. And then we have this 1,500 because that's how much they want to make. And this tricky part here, finding the sign, they want at least a very minimum of $1,500. So they want to hit that goal of 1,500, but they want to also go over that goal of 1,500. So that's why this side is going to be 565 plus 5x is greater than or equal to 1,500. So now let's begin to solve. This is going to be a minus 565 on this side, on both sides. And I have this 5x. I don't want to, that's not the color I want. Oh, I didn't know I could fill. That's kind of cool. All right, 5x. 5x. And now what I have is greater than or equal to 1,500 minus 565. 1,500 minus 565. You can go ahead and plug that into your calculator if you need to. Actually, let me not write that out like that. I'm going to write out the answer down there. And so when we do that, when we subtract those, we get 935. All right, 5x is greater than or equal to 935. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 5, both sides by 5. And I end up with x is greater than or equal to 535. 935 divided by 5 is going to be 187. 187. And so with that, it tells me that they need to sell. I'm just going to type that out as our actual answer here. So they need to sell at least 187 tickets. All right. They need to sell at least 187 tickets. That's how we're going to interpret this answer. Okay. So I have gone through, I have done the odds, or no, not the odds, I've done the evens. The odds, maybe one of them that may be kind of tricky, but I think you all can handle that one. Yeah, if you run into any problems, that's why we're doing this in class. Go ahead and ask me. This is our review day for our test happening tomorrow. Okay. So if you run into any problems, let me or Miss IKN know. Okay. All right.